Okay, so I'm going to install this Lowrance Skimmer transducer on the trolling motor here for the bow fish finder. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing, what I'd recommend is, if you can, and I can't in this case, but stretch the cable out. These newer cables, they're pretty thick. They do have a lot of memory to them. So if you can stretch it out like the night before, just so it doesn't have as many bends in it, it'll make it a lot easier for you. So we're going to use just I think this is a 4-inch hose clamp with this Lowrance trolling motor adapter. It's called a TMBS. They're about 10 bucks. Now if you don't have one of these, you just have the transom bracket, what you can do is just bend these ears up and put your hose clamp through there, attach your transducer. It's good for in a pinch. I've done that before if you don't have this guy here. So out of the transom mount kit, we're only going to be using these things. Basically this is the order it's going to go on. Just like that, transducer in the middle obviously. If you're using this bracket, you'll obviously have to use all the parts with the exception of the screws that go into the transom, but you will have to use these little washers here. Okay, so I've opened up that hose clamp, got the bracket and everything installed. It's not tight, but I'll tighten that down later. The way I'm going to want to install this is so it's facing this way. No point other than just you know, hopefully keeping weeds off of it and taking impacts better if it does get hit. You know, with the forward skeg here, I shouldn't have that problem, but that's just the way I'm going to do it. If you have a rear facing skeg, you definitely want to put it forward, because that way it'll kick up in the bracket a little bit if it does take an impact, rather than getting bent back and just doing even more damage. Okay, so that's it installed. It's tightened down. You can see how this snugs up against the trolling motor when it's all tight. Basically, I just make sure that the center of the skeg here is lined up with the center of the transducer. That's a good way to know it's straight, you know, and obviously just make sure it's clear of the prop. The other thing too I like to do is keep the hose clamp off the plastic here, because if it's on there, it will definitely rub and scratch it up. This next thing is just fishing the cable up the bracket there. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Just fish that up. Any points that you think you need a tie, put one in. I could probably use another one here if I really wanted to. When you get to this point, it's easy to do. Here, because the lower shaft is going to pivot, if we just zip tie that like so, you're going to put so much strain on that cable, it may not even allow that motor to turn completely. So what you need to do is put a loop in it, like that, and then zip tie up this shaft. Now another thing to remember is that you're going to be raising and lowering this shaft in the bracket. So if you put zip ties all up it, you can't move it up and down anymore. So you have to think about where you're going to put them. I usually just put one at the bottom. I'll put one, what I could do is put one through here, maybe drill a hole in this bracket and just put one through there loose to keep the cable going through, and then another one up at the top, depending on how I fish my cable. So I'm going to figure that out. If you have a Terova or an autopilot, which are the electric steer motors, you can't zip tie to the shaft at all. It doesn't have the dual shaft. It just has a single shaft that goes all the way up through the bracket. So again, when you adjust it for shallower or deeper water, it slides. But also when you stow it completely, the shaft slides up through the bracket, that would basically be this part here, all the way to the foot of the motor. So you can't have any cable ties at all. So really, if you're going to get one of those, get one with the built-in transducer. I think that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you can only put a zip tie here, have your cable run loose all the way up to the top, and zip tie here. So those are just a couple things to think about. Okay, so what I ended up doing is just doing one zip tie here with that loop I was talking about. Comes up, another one at the top. What a lot of people do is we'll zip tie it all the way down the trolling motor cable there. That's one option. But I like to do a little cleaner. Just come along here, zip tie it to the bracket, and then I'll just affix it to the deck here, a little slack. And I'm probably eventually going to get a hole to put these cables in somewhere around here. But for now, I'm just going to just fish it down under through there, and it come out here to where the unit's going to be mounted on this ram mount. If you don't have the ability to do this, you can just drill a small hole and use some smaller zip ties. I may even actually end up doing that because this one does rub when it comes in contact with the bracket here. So what I tried to do with this cable is keep it on the back side of the shaft here, and I also tried to keep the zip ties where they attach on the back as well. And you do this for the lower shaft, so it'll come through the water a little bit better if you're fishing areas with lots of weeds. You don't have the cable or these clips here for it to hang up on. Another thing what you can do on the lower shaft if you're really having trouble is just wrap electrical tape all the way up to hide the transducer cable. The other thing I'm going to do is just cut this off, just again so there's no issue with weeds. May even position this a little bit further back here, just to again eliminate the chance of weeds getting on the prop.